Far away in a deep forest, there lived a beautiful fairy named Zainab. She loved traveling and was always in search of new places. She had silver wings that shone in the sunlight, and she would ride on clouds to journey across the world. Every morning, Zainab would pack healing herbs and beautiful flowers into her magical bag before setting off on a new adventure. One day, as she flew over towering mountains, she spotted a very beautiful kingdom below. But something strange caught her eye: there were no women in the streets. How could this be? She thought. Where are the women of this land? She descended and asked an old man. The man sighed and said, "O noble fairy, our kingdom has been struck by a strange illness. 3 years ago, a plague spread here, and because of it, all the women lost their hair. Out of shame, they hide inside their homes. Our physicians and doctors tried everything, but nothing worked. People have lost all hope." Zainab's heart filled with sorrow. She said, "I believe there must be a cure. I will surely find a way." She opened her magical book, which contained remedies for many illnesses. After searching through it, she discovered that the cure was the golden healing flower. This flower grew only at the very peak of the highest mountain. If placed into river water, it could heal the illness. But the book also warned that obtaining this flower would not be easy. The path was full of dangers and trials. With courage, Zainab set off toward the mighty mountain. As soon as she approached, dark storm clouds blocked her path. Thunder roared, and fierce winds blew. Her silver wings grew heavy with rain, making it hard to fly. "I will not give up," Zainab declared. She pulled out the sunflower of light from her magical bag. Its radiance scattered the storm clouds, and the path cleared. As she reached the middle of the mountain, a fierce snowstorm began. The cold was so strong that her wings started to freeze. Zainab closed her eyes and remembered the women of the kingdom, hiding and weeping in their homes. The warmth of her compassion grew so strong that the ice around her began to melt. Closer to the peak, she faced terrifying black demon birds. They attacked her, shrieking, "Go back. This flower belongs to us." But Zainab sang a song of love. The sweetness of her voice calmed the demon birds, and they moved aside. At last, she reached the summit. There, she found a small garden blooming with the golden healing flowers. Suddenly, a golden serpent emerged. It was the guardian of the garden. The serpent hissed angrily, "These flowers are not for everyone. Their power can only be granted to one who is willing to sacrifice." Instead of fear, Zainab spoke truthfully about her pure intentions. Seeing her sincerity and selflessness, the serpent smiled and said, "Go, noble fairy. Your heart is purer than these flowers themselves." As Zainab prepared to descend, a dark shadow spread across the sky. It was the sorceress who had cursed the kingdom years ago, determined that no woman there should ever be happy again. She could not bear that her curse was about to be broken. But Zainab wisely spread the light of the healing flowers through her song, creating a circle of radiance. The fragrance and glow of the flowers weakened the sorceress until she shrieked and vanished into the air. When Zainab returned to the kingdom, she called the women outside. At first, they hesitated, but her kind heart gave them courage. Zainab mixed the golden healing flowers into the mountain river's clear water and spoke magical words. The water turned golden, releasing a sweet fragrance. When the women applied it to their heads, hair began to grow instantly, longer, softer, and shinier than ever before. Joy swept across the kingdom. The women danced and sang, children laughed and cheered, and the men rejoiced to see their wives and daughters happy again. The king thanked Zainab deeply, saying, "You are the savior of our kingdom. Ask for any reward you wish." But Zainab smiled and replied, "Your happiness is my greatest reward. I am a traveler, and my purpose is to help those in need." She left the remaining flowers with the women so they could use them again in the future if needed. The next morning, Zainab spread her silver wings, ready for a new journey. The entire kingdom gathered to bid her farewell. The women waved their beautiful new hair in the wind, thanking her with bright smiles. Zainab flew into the sky, smiling to herself. Who knows, she thought, where my next journey will take me, and whose life I will get the chance to change. Thank you so much for watching this magical story of Fairy Zainab. If you enjoyed the story, don't forget to hit the like button. Share your thoughts in the comments. And subscribe to the channel for more amazing stories. In the kingdom of Eloria, there was a beautiful world of dreams and magic. The leaves of the trees sparkled with light, and the breeze itself sang melodies. In this kingdom lived a delicate and enchanting fairy named Zainab. Her house was different from everyone else's, uniquely beautiful, built on a small hill at the edge of the forest. Flowers bloomed all around, and vines wrapped around her windows, filled with colorful blossoms. Inside her home, magical pearl garlands hung from the ceiling. During the day, they reflected sunlight, and at night, they glowed like fireflies. Her house was always full of light and fragrance. In Zainab's room were boxes of colorful threads, fabrics, and precious pearls. She had a special love for pearls. Often, she would go to rivers and seashores to collect them and use them in her designs. There was magic in her fingers. Whenever she combined thread and pearls, they seemed alive. Her creations weren't just clothes, they told stories. Zainab's greatest wish was to one day create a dress that would become not only a symbol of beauty but also of hope and magic. One day, bells rang all across the palace. This was the announcement of the kingdom's grandest competition. Held every year, it was the highest honor for fairies. But this time, the queen declared that it would not just be a fashion contest, but a contest of creation itself. Each fairy would prepare her own masterpiece. Some would weave magic from fragrances, some would compose heavenly music, some would create dazzling lights, and others would design garments. The winner would be crowned as the most talented artist of the kingdom. The moment this announcement was made, the entire city came alive. In the streets, in homes, in boutiques, every fairy was busy with her creation. Some captured the colors of the rainbow from the sky, others trapped the glow of fireflies in bottles for their designs. Joy and hard work filled the air everywhere. Zainab returned home and decided to create a sari. A sari unlike any other, made of colorful pearls and magical threads, which would change colors every moment when light fell on it. She wanted the sari to look not just like a garment, but like a dream. Day and night, she worked tirelessly. Colors lay scattered all over her room as her hands moved and the sari slowly took shape. She was filled with happiness, believing she would amaze everyone this year. But fate always tests us when we think everything is finally perfect. A day before the competition, dark clouds covered the sky. Strong winds shook the windows. Zainab was putting the final stitch on her sari when suddenly a fierce gust of wind blew the candle from the table near the fabric. In an instant, flames spread across the sari. She quickly summoned magical water, but the wind was too strong, and the fire spread fast. Within moments, her sari, all her fabrics, and everything in her room turned to ashes. She fell to the floor, tears streaming down her face. She thought everything was over, her dreams, her efforts, all burnt away. Crying, she left her home and wandered into the forest. Night was falling. The rustling of trees and the roar of the sea filled the air. Zainab kept walking until she reached the seashore. She sat on the sand, gazing at the sky, letting her tears flow. In her heart, she thought she could no longer take part in the competition. All her hard work had gone to waste. Just then, she noticed a tiny sparkle. Looking down, she saw a butterfly lying in the sand. One of its wings was broken, and it kept falling again and again as it tried to fly. Gently, Zainab picked it up in her palm. The butterfly looked so fragile. With a soft touch of her fingers, she cast magical light onto its wing. Slowly, it began to heal, until soon the butterfly was ready to fly again. Before leaving, it looked into Zainab's eyes, as if to say, "Do not give up. Even broken wings can fly again." That moment became a message for Zainab. A new spirit rose in her heart. She thought, if a tiny butterfly could fly again, then why couldn't she? Despite her house burning down, she refused to give up. She went back, gathered whatever remained from the ashes, pieces of fabric, magical threads, and boxes of pearls. With renewed determination, she began working again. She worked all night without stopping, her hands moving not with exhaustion but with courage. Though she had fewer materials, she created a new design. The next day was the competition. The palace hall sparkled with lights. Courtiers, spectators, and the queen herself were present. One by one, the fairies presented their creations. Some dazzled with displays of light, some filled the hall with fragrance, others painted rainbows in the air. Each creation was unique, but none carried the magic that touched hearts. Then came Zainab's turn. Everyone was shocked to see her. How could she have returned after losing everything to fire? But as she stepped onto the runway, all breaths stopped. Her dress, made of pearls and colorful threads, looked like butterfly wings. When the light fell on it, it shimmered even brighter. The queen said, "This dress is not only beauty but a symbol of courage and hope." Zainab has proven that true victory belongs to those who never give up, even when everything is lost. The entire hall erupted in applause. Everyone declared that the true winner was none other than Zainab. At that moment, Prince Avayan stepped forward. He had been watching Zainab all along, and in his heart, a special love had awakened for her. In front of everyone, he said, "Zainab, you have not only won the heart of the kingdom but also mine. Will you be my queen?" Zainab was stunned. She remained silent for a moment, tears filling her eyes, joy rushing through her heart. She couldn't speak, but her silence itself was her answer. The queen smiled and said, "I accept this union." And so, Zainab not only became the champion of the competition but also the bride of the prince. On her wedding day, when everyone saw her, she wore the very magical dress she had designed, inspired by the butterfly's wings. That dress was no longer just a symbol of victory, but the beginning of her new life. Thank you for watching this magical story of Zainab. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to. In the world of fairies, there was a beautiful fairy named Zainab. She had golden hair and her eyes sparkled like stars. But Zainab was different from other fairies. She had a passion for acting. In the fairy world, there were many strict rules, and one of them was that no fairy could go into the human world to showcase her talent. The fairy queen always said that such an act could endanger their kingdom. But Zainab's love for acting was so strong that she dreamed of it day and night. She would secretly go into the forest and practice her acting alone. She made the trees her audience and performed different roles, sometimes a princess, sometimes a warrior, and sometimes just a simple village girl. Her voice carried a magical charm, and her acting had such power that it could touch anyone's heart. One day, when Zainab's restlessness grew too strong, she decided to leave. In the darkness of the night, while all the fairies were asleep, she quietly slipped out of the fairyland. She hid her wings, concealed her magical powers, and took the form of a human before stepping into the human world. The dazzling lights of the city amazed her, so many people, so many noises. She began searching for theaters and film sets. By fate's design, she got the chance to work alongside a famous actor named Neil, who was celebrated all over the world for his craft. When Zainab acted before Neil for the first time, he was astonished. He instantly knew that she wasn't an ordinary actress. Days passed, and as they worked together, Zainab and Neil's love began to blossom. Music. Applause. Their pairing became extremely popular, but Zainab always lived with fear that someone might discover her true identity. One day, deeply in love, Neil proposed marriage to Zainab. She happily said yes. But one night, when Zainab thought no one was watching, she spread her wings and flew into the sky for a short while. Unfortunately, Neil saw her. Shocked, he confronted her. "You deceived me. You're not human. Why did you lie to me?" he said in anger and pain. "I never deceived you," Zainab replied with tears in her eyes. "I only hid my truth, but my love for you has always been real." But blinded by anger, Neil didn't listen. "I don't want to see you again," he declared. Heartbroken, Zainab returned to the fairy world. Back in her homeland, she isolated herself, never showing her face to anyone. She wept day and night, sitting by the lake, letting her tears fall into the water. Other fairies worried for her, but she never shared her sorrow. Meanwhile, Neil was restless too. As days turned into weeks, he realized the terrible mistake he had made. Zainab being a fairy did not make her love any less true. Without her, life felt empty. He couldn't focus on his work and constantly thought of her. At last, Neil decided to find Zainab and beg for forgiveness. But where was the land of fairies? He wandered through deep forests, climbed high mountains, crossed deserted islands, and searched along the shores of the sea. He asked villagers, listened to old tales, and followed every trace of magic he could find. After months of searching, one day, while wandering in an ancient forest, he saw a strange glowing light. Following it, he reached a place that looked magical. It was the land of fairies. But as soon as he entered, the fairy guards surrounded him. "Human, what are you doing here?" they demanded. "I've come only to find my love, Zainab," Neil pleaded. "I made a terrible mistake, and I want to ask for her forgiveness." The guards brought him before the fairy queen. She looked at him and said, "So, you are the man who broke our Zainab's heart?" "Yes," Neil admitted, "and I deeply regret it. I love her, whether she is human or fairy doesn't matter. Please, let me see her once." The fairy queen thought for a moment and then said, "If you truly love her and want to marry her, you must make a sacrifice. You must become a fairy yourself. Are you willing?" Without hesitation, Neil replied, "Yes. Without Zainab, my life has no meaning." The fairy queen recited an ancient spell, and Neil's body began to change. Beautiful wings emerged from his back, and his eyes sparkled with magic. He had become a fairy. He rushed to Zainab, who was astonished to see him. "Zainab," Neil said softly, "your being a fairy doesn't make you less beautiful, it makes you even more special. I love you, and I always will. Will you forgive me?" Tears filled Zainab's eyes. "Neil, you made such a great sacrifice for me. How could I not forgive you? I love you too." Smiling, the fairy queen blessed their union and arranged their wedding. All the fairies celebrated with joy, and the forest filled with music and light. Thus, Zainab and Neil's love story became one of the most magical tales ever told. Enjoyed the story? Don't forget to like and share your thoughts in the comments.